Hello, welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now today we've got very interesting looking puzzle. Well, it's really to celebrate tomorrow. Tomorrow's date is quite an interesting one. It's the 2nd of February 2020, so 2/2/2020, lots of twos. And Scott Strosahl, who created a killer Sudoku for us back to celebrate, I think it was November the 1st, wasn't it? So 111, has designed this puzzle to celebrate the tomorrow's date. Now we've also had another puzzle created to celebrate tomorrow's date from Nathan Gilbert, who we've also featured on the channel before. So I think Mark will take a look at that tomorrow. I'm going to do this one today, slightly out of place, but I suspect for many of you will actually be watching it on the right date anyway. Now, so how does this puzzle work? You can see we've got some killer Sudoku cages, each of which does contain the number 2, which is rather nice. A big grey 2 in the middle of the grid. Now this needs to be a palindrome, so that means that whatever we put here, I guess, is going to have to appear down here as well, and so forth. So this square, for example, would mirror to that square down there. And then there's the final piece of the jigsaw is these black dots. Now where there are cells separated by black dots, these need to differ in value by 2. So there's all sorts of 2s going on here. Now do have a go at this puzzle. I don't know how hard it is yet, but based off the last puzzle from Scott, it wasn't monstrous, so it was very approachable. So hopefully this will be somewhat easier than the savage one that I recorded yesterday. Right, now with that, let's take a look. Do click on the link under the video if I hadn't said that already to play along. Right, okay, well I can see somewhere we can start. Look, we can start up here. We've got 2 cages here that sum up to 37. Now, because we know that the entire 3x3 block will sum to 45, because that's what you get if you add the numbers from 1 to 9, this little square, that's going to have to be an 8. And that is on the palindrome, so we can write an 8 into the bottom as well. Okay, now what should we do next? We know that every 22 cage must contain a 9. There's interesting, yeah, okay, so down here, look, we've got 2 22 cages very close to each other. Now, given I know there'll be a 9 in that one, neither of these squares can contain a 9, so that one's going to have to be a 9. And therefore there's a 9 in one of those 2 squares and a 9 in one of those 3 squares. We've almost got an overlap here. Look in the top right, we've got 2 cages summing to 45 where just this cell sticks out. So in fact we therefore know that whatever we write into this square will be mirrored in this square here, because if I put a 2, for example, in here, the remaining squares would sum to 22 plus 21 is 43. I know the whole 3x3 block is 45, so we're going to have a mirror symmetry between these 2 cells. I don't think I'm going to be able to use that yet though. Down here, look, we've got another little trick we can do. Those 2 cages sum to 42. These 2 cages therefore have to sum to 3. So, oops, I meant to do that here. The mouse is playing up a bit again. So this is a 1-2 pair. That means that there is a, in fact let me fix it. Right, fixed it. So now the 1-2 is in the first cell of the palindrome, so it must be over there as well. Now here, look, as well, we've got these cages are all very big cages. Yes, this is nice, isn't it? So if we add up these cages that we've got here, these are also add up to 3 shy of the maximum. So 23 plus, well, 23 plus 22 is 45, plus another 20 is 65, plus another 22 is 87. So these 2 squares must also sum up to 3, because we know both 3x3 cages together will sum to 90, 2 lots of 45. So this square is also a 1 or a 2, therefore. Now this, I suppose 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess this is the 5th square on the palindrome rather than this one. This would make more sense. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That square, therefore, is a 1 or a 2. '21 cage here in the center. Now, again, we can do some simple arithmetic. These 3 squares to complete the 3x3 block must add to 24, therefore, so these must be 7, 8, and 9, and there's an 8 there, so we get an 8, a 9, and a 7. We can fix the 9 because of this 9 here. This is good now, so this, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so the 7th and 8th from the other direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, so this 9 is at the centre of the palindrome, so I can't get any more from that, but I could put this 8 in. It means there's an 8 in one of those 2 squares. And there's an 8 in one of these 2 squares as well, because of these 8s interacting. 22 plus 12 is 34. These 3 have to sum to 11. So if this was an 8, we'd also have to have another 1, 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that doesn't work, does it? I mean, there's no way this can be an 8, because if this was an 8, I'd have to put an 8 here, where it would clash with that 8. Moreover, I'd have to have a repeated 1, 2 as well. So this is not 8, so the 8 is up there, which means this 22 cage must be 8, 5, and 9, and there's a 9 here. So we're going to be able to make a little bit more progress there. The 9s interact, lock a 9 into one of those squares. There's be a 9 up here as well because of these 9s. And 22 cage containing a 7. Yes, that's interesting. So my Kakuru knowledge comes into play there. I know that to make 22 in 6 cells, I have to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. So that is cool, actually, because look, we've got a 1, 2 pair here. So these 2 squares must be 3, 4, and 5. And these 2, no, I don't know what those 2 are. These 2 can be anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. But this is quite interesting as well, because now this 3, 4, 5 option has an impact on this square. And we also know this square is going to impact on this square. So I think we should just take a moment to look at this. So at the moment, we know these squares and this square sum to 28. So these 3 squares have got to sum up to 17, which is, right, well, something we can immediately see is there's got to be a 5 in one of these 2 squares, because if there isn't, 3 plus 4 is 7, we'd need to put 10 into that square, which is not valid. So one of these 2 squares is a 5, so neither of these 2 squares is a 5. Oh, and this is resolved, isn't it? Because 3 and 5 would allow us to place a 9 here, but 4 and 5 would force this square to be an 8, and it can't be an 8 because there's already an 8 in row 4. So these 2 squares are 3 and 5, therefore no 3 down there. And this is 9. Therefore, this is 7. That's the first use we've made of a black dot. We know it's too different. It can't go higher than 9. This is 9 from the earlier work we did. Oh, and that's on the palindrome. So that must be there. We get another 9, which means this square is a 7. It's a lovely puzzle, this, isn't it? It's just flowing. It's very good. 7s here and here. 1, 2, 4. Now this 7 is on the palindrome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that fixes that one. There's going to have to be a 6 in this. Well, actually, let's use this is easier because these add up to 11, including a 7 here. So we can't put a 2 here, or we'll repeat the 2. So this square must be a 1. This square must be a 3. So 1, 2, 3, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 7, 1. And that gives us a 1 here, which pivots around like that. Oh, we've done the palindrome. Good Lord. Okay. So, does that give us, the 2 here gives us a 1 here, so we can resolve that this is a 2-4 combination. Let's remove the 9 from the pencil mark here. You can see we need 1, 5 and 6 into the yellow squares. We have a 1 and a 5 there, so that's going to have to be 6, leaves a 1, 5 pair. These squares are 2, 4 and 6. This one can't be a 6. And these have to be 2 different. Okay, we'll come back to that. I can't immediately see how to resolve it. This one can't be a 9 anymore, because if it's a 9, it can't be a 9 for that reason as well. So let's remove that. The 9 is, oh, in fact the 9 is there. I could have resolved that a while ago. Apologies. Now this 12 cage must be 5, 7, because it can't be 3, 9, and it can't be 4, 8. Therefore those 2 squares have got to be 1, 3. So here we've got 13 already in this cage, so these 2 must add up to 11. They can't be 2, 9, they can't be 3, 8, they can't be 4, 7. These 2 squares have got to be 5 and 6 therefore, and there's a 5 in the column. This must be an 8, this must be 2 and 4, that goes in that order because of the 2 here. This 2, I should have spotted that. It's next to a black dot, so this square can't be a 0, so it'll have to be a 4. Now this square is now a 2 or a 6, so this square must be a 4, because if this is a 2, we know this is 2 different, it can't go downwards, so it'll have to be a 4. And similarly, if this is a 6, it's got to go downwards, so either way that's always a 4. Therefore that's a 2 and that's a 6. That's a 2 and that's a 4. Lovely. 3 here. Now 1, 5 and 6 are the options there. Of these 2 squares needs to be a 2. Come back to that. I think there's going to be easier pickings perhaps. Oh yes, look, 9 here, that's going to have to be a 9. This will have to be 5 or 6 because of the 7 and 8 already in the column. This needs to be 7 or 8 into this square. 9, 9. This is a 9 as well. Now, the 8s here pincer those 2 squares. So as we know, neither of these squares can be an 8. This 22 cage will have to be 6, 7 and 9. The 7 here tells us which way round that's going to go. Now we've got 6, 7, 9 here. This 22 cage will have to be a 5, 8 cage, and that's fixed as well by this 8 at the top. These 3 squares have got to be 2, 3 and 4, so again we can put that in. 5 here resolves that this one is a 6, 7 cage. This is a 7 now by these 7s, and these 2 squares are 2 and 4. These have got to be 1, 3 and 6. Can we do that yet? Nearly. That can't be a 1, that can't be a 3, that one can't be a 6. Oh, 9 here, look. I could have used my black dot to put a 7 and a 5 in. Let me just check. I've Have I used all the black dots now? That one, no, not this one. That should be a 5, that's a 1. This is a 1 in one of those two squares, and that's going to have to go with a 2. These two squares have got to be 5 and 6 in some order. This square can be written in if I'd actually looked at it. That's a 5. These squares have got to be 3, 4 and 8. That's an 8 therefore. The 3's here fix the 3 over there. That fixes the 3 and the 1 at the top. This must be a 2 or a 4 to complete the column. Let's get rid of that pencil mark 9 because it's obscuring the number that we need. And you can see we can actually, we've got 23 here. I think that's 23 anyway. So these are going to have to add to 22 in order to make sure that our total for the column is 45. So that's going to be a 6 at the top, which fixes the 3 and the 1. This should be a 6 now, and you can see that 6 is rather nice because it fixes all sorts of things around the middle of the grid there. 3, 1, 5 and 7 to complete this row. So that's going to be a 1, that's a 7 and that's a 5. This 20 cage now is forced. We've already got 16 into it, so we've got to add 4 more. That fixes the 8. Where can the 1 go in row 5? Well, given there's a 1 there, it can only go here. So that's got to be 1, 2, that's a 2, that's a 4. That fixes the 4, 2 at the top. That should be a 6, that should be a 1. And there we go. Lovely puzzle. Thank you very much, Scott, for sending us that. Very innovative and really a very nice, fun solve. So I did enjoy it. I hope you did too. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate that. And we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.